already know that sex feels very different for men and women. But have you ever wondered exactly how different? Do you ever wonder what sex actually feels like for a woman? Not just out of curiosity, but also because in order to provide a really incredible experience and to be the best lover that she has ever had, you need to get inside of her head. You've got to understand exactly how sex feels for her from her perspective. In this video, I'm going to talk about what different sex positions feel like for women and what women like and dislike about the most common sex positions. I'm also going to be sharing from my personal perspective, and I might even divulge which one of these is my personal favorite. So stick around to find out and subscribe if that all sounds really interesting to you, because you will love the rest of this channel. We're gonna break down today missionary, cowgirl, spooning, and doggy style sex positions. And by the end of this video, you will have information that few men will ever have access to. You'll actually be able to understand what it's like for her, what's going on in her body and her mind. And having this knowledge will allow you to intentionally create different experiences for her that will leave her feeling like you've read her mind, like you know exactly what it is that she wants, why she wants it, and how to deliver it. And you'll be able to create variety and spice things up in such a way that she'll be super curious and wanting more. You're also gonna have insight on why she doesn't want to do certain positions. And of course, if you want further clarity, you can ask her based on what you're gonna learn here. Because while I am an expert on sex and I've been researching and teaching on the subject for almost 20 years, that is not an exaggeration, I'm not an expert on your woman. And the only woman who can tell you what's going on inside of her head during sex is her. So I'm gonna speak for myself here and the women who I know, who I've coached, but I invite all of the women watching to write about your experiences in the comments. And that way we can make this a really full service video experience. All right, let's start out with good old-fashioned missionary, AKA man on top, face to face. When I was younger, this was actually my favorite position, and that's because when I started having sex around the age of 15, I was feeling very vulnerable, and I just wanted to feel very close and connected and safe and in love with my boyfriend at the time. Plus, I got to lie back and relax, which helped with my anxiety. I got to see his face and make out with him and even maintain eye contact. Although if I'm totally honest, I don't remember what our contact was like. That was like a long time ago, but I'm sure that there was eye contact. There was certainly a lot of making out. While we were having sex in missionary, I would squeeze down really hard on him with my pelvic floor muscles, and I was able to make myself orgasm through doing that just about every single time. And this is also because I had been masturbating for many years at that point, well before I knew what it was. And I knew my body and how to get myself to orgasm very well. So I had that as an advantage. Physically, there are a lot of factors to missionary position that will determine how she experiences it. Like how much body weight the guy is putting on top of her. For example, if you're on your arms and you're holding yourself up by your wrists, maybe not putting any weight on us, that can feel good physically, but it can also feel a little distant. Alternatively, if you're really close to us and you're laying all of your body weight on us, that can feel a little stifling, a little too much. What's most important here is that you maintain the connection between your pelvises. Essentially, that is what puts pressure on the clitoris. And you can watch my videos on female anatomy if you need a good reference, but wait until we're done here. See, this is really important because in missionary, there's little to no G-spot stimulation. And unless you are particularly long as a guy, you're probably not hitting the A spot or the P spot, and those are up closer to the cervix. You're not gonna hit those in this position. Again, length dependent. So as long as you're staying close to her and grinding her a little bit, the clitoris can be getting a lot of stimulation here, which is what is going to support her getting to orgasm. After she's really warmed up and hopefully already had an orgasm or 2 or 3, then you can pound her in this position, which is what most people think about, I think, in missionary, but wait until you're at that point, because pounding is what stimulates the vestibular bulbs. They're on the outside of the body, underneath the lips. And potentially in that position, pounding deep can hit the A spot and the P spot, even if you're not super long. Obviously, this requires stamina, both in terms of cardio and your ability to last long enough to get her there. And if you struggle with coming too quickly in bed, please check out my course, Come When You Want, which is 98% effective at ending premature ejaculation naturally. And it comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee, which is a long enough time to take the whole course and get the results. The link is in the description below. Also, it's worth noting that if you create a little more space between your bodies in this position, then she can sneak her fingers down between you and touch her clitoris. And this is necessary for many women in order to reach orgasm. All right, now that we've talked about what Missionary feels like in her body, let's dive into what might be going through her mind in this position. Now for me, depending on the situation, I usually find myself thinking about my partner. And that might be like lovey-dovey close thoughts, but it might also be that I'm worried about his wrists, or I'm worried that he's overexerting himself. Maybe if he's like breaking a sweat. Or I might think, oh my God, am I taking too long? Even me, yeah. I also want to know if it feels good for him. I also might want to just like make out and, like I said, feel really emotionally close. I'm probably thinking about how connected we are or disconnected we are. Like I would be noticing that too. And because we're face to face, it's really difficult to distract myself with any other thoughts, which can be great, but also if you're the kind of person who likes to fantasize, it can be a little more difficult to do that when you're looking in someone's face. On that note, you can easily bury your head in her neck in this position, which allows you to avoid eye contact altogether. This makes things a lot less emotionally intense, but you might also be missing out on the sweetness that comes from staying deeply connected in that way. Speaking of emotions, this is a really great position if the energy between you is really good and your emotions are flowing. You know, if you're feeling really in love, you're making eye contact, you're kissing, you're whispering sweet nothings or dirty things to each other. I've literally been moved to tears while making love in Missionary on several occasions. If you think about it, in this position, you're lined up heart to heart, which is why it can feel so close and connected. On a soul level, when Missionary hits just right, especially if you're able to orgasm at the same time, which requires stamina, of course, it can feel like your souls are temporarily merging into one, and it is one of the most cosmic experiences I think that any two people can have. All right, enough about Missionary. Let's talk Cowgirl, the position in which a man lies down and a woman straddles him and is on top, again, facing each other. The Cowgirl position has got a lot going on for women. We're on top, which means it's more physically demanding. And for women, this can feel like even being a little dominant because you're on top, and it might also feel a little disconnected. Now, if a man is packing a larger unit, then this can be a great position to start in because she has total control over how fast or slow penetration is happening. But it can also feel very exposed because you can see us, like all of us. And this can cause some women to get stuck in their minds. Women start thinking about how they look from this angle. Because you're looking up at us, we know that you can see our boobs, our bellies, our faces, bottom of our chin. And we all know that from taking selfies, this is not necessarily our most flattering angle, and many of us can get self-conscious in this position. Now, if we're feeling really good about ourselves and we're in the moment, that might be great. But if we're not feeling particularly sexy, or maybe we aren't that physically fit, we might want to avoid this position altogether. Like for me, before I started working out and doing Pilates, if we were really going at it in this position, I would get easily winded, and that made me feel embarrassed. And I know plenty of women just straight avoid getting on top because they are afraid of looking foolish in front of their partner. Yes, guys, that's right. You are not the only ones who are afraid of being laughed at during sex. Sex therapist and author of the book Sex Talks, Vanessa Marin, has some really good advice for women who want to try riding Cowgirl but are afraid. She says begin by naming your fears with your partner. Like, have a conversation, and then trying it out using what is called the pancake rule. Let me explain. You know how when you make pancakes, the first pancake never comes out just right? It's always like a little wonky. So instead of putting so much pressure on the first time you try something, whether it's Cowgirl or anything else, consider it an experiment. Just something that you're trying, you're playing around with, just something for having fun. It's just the first pancake. My advice for both men and women when it comes to riding Cowgirl is to be realistic about what you're up for and make adjustments as necessary. Like if her quads get tired, you can have her lean over and lie on your body and take a little break. And if you're close to orgasming, you can have her slow down and gently grind on you so that you can extend your time. Remember, she doesn't have to be bouncing around like you're a trampoline, okay? You can use the fact that her body is exposed to touch her skin, her neck, her sides, her butt, her breasts. Creating connection and physical touch all over her body can help her to stay out of her head. And just on a personal note, my desire to ride Cowgirl decreases exponentially after orgasming. Like usually I feel either kind of physically weak or kind of woozy, and I find it difficult to like really get into a position that requires a lot of athleticism on my part, mostly because I want to relax and swim in the pool of orgasmic bliss that's been opened. You can call me a lazy pillow princess in the comments if you want. Certainly, I'm sure someone has before, but I like to think of it as just, I know how to kick back and savor when something feels good. So in talking about Cowgirl, let's take a second and discuss reverse Cowgirl, which is when a woman is riding a man, but she's facing away from him. She's looking down towards his feet. Now, this position can be really exciting for guys who love butts and women who like to have their butts looked at and or touched during sex. But it can also be kind of awkward physically. I mean, it depends a lot on the shape and the angle and the size of your penis and of her vagina. It's less vulnerable because you're looking away from each other, but it can be a little more uncomfortable physically and harder to get into a flow. I recommend for women that instead of trying to bounce up and down in this position, you instead use your pelvic floor muscles to rhythmically squeeze on your man. If you're not sure how to do that, check out all my videos on Kegels and pelvic floor exercises, which work pretty much the same for men and for women. All right, let's talk about another two positions where both people are facing in the same direction. First is my favorite for morning sex, which is spooning. This is where the guy is behind the girl and entering her from behind, but you're both lying down side by side. This is great for folks who have a big difference in height, but it doesn't necessarily work for all people of all body shapes and sizes, so play around, amend it, change it, try different angles, and see if you can make it work for you. Now, the reason that I love spooning sex is that you can be really close to each other because you're spooning, and you're able to therefore both be in a relaxed position. And this is good for guys who want to last longer in bed, as storing tension in your muscles, like whether consciously because you're on top or unconsciously because you just don't know your body that well, can lead you to orgasming faster. Again, that's all in Come When You Want, which will allow you to have sex in all of these positions. The nice thing about spooning is that it doesn't require physical exertion from either of you, which is why it can be really nice to start your day with, because you don't have to like wake up out of bed and get, do your stretches and stuff so that you can like get back in there and really give it your all. It's also true that most guys are more likely to wake up with an erection. So if you struggle with getting hard as the day goes on, like you experience a lot of stress, and by the time that you're, ready to go to bed at night, it's a lot more difficult for you to get aroused and ready for sex, then you can take advantage of that reliable morning wood. But my guys, this is super important. Side note here, please do not initiate morning sex or any other kind of sex or spooning sex by pushing your boner into her back. This might be cute when you're first dating, but it is not cute. It's not a cute way of initiating. Most women find that to be a little like cringy. It kind of makes us bristle at the thought. And we're gonna wanna say no to your advances when you initiate in that way. So try some other ways of initiating, like non-direct sexual touch, massaging, stroking, like kissing. Those are all more likely to get you the response that you're looking for. Okay, let's talk about how spooning sex feels for women. I think generally the ability to have your bodies be super close to each other in this position makes it feel intimate. You can't easily make eye contact, but you can use your mouth to kiss her neck, to whisper sexy little sweet things into her ears. And again, she can slip one of her hands down between her legs and stimulate her clitoris, which again is like the most important factor for women being able to have an orgasm consistently. Now, spooning sex is pretty good for stimulating her G-spot, and that's because of the angle of penetration. You're more likely to be putting pressure on the G-spot with the tip of your penis as it enters her body. And we'll talk about that in the next position, which is essentially spooning's more active cousin, Doggy Style. To be honest, I don't really love the name Doggy Style. I mean, it's fine for what we're trying to accomplish here today, but if you have a good alternative name for this position, please leave it in the comments. I'm sure there are a bunch out there. I want to know what you call it. Doggy Style is when a woman is bent over and the man enters her from behind, both of them face in the same direction. Now, this is often done with both people on the bed on their knees, but it can also be done standing, and the woman can be supporting herself by resting the top of her body or hanging on to a bed or a table, a railing, a couch, barrier of some kind. You get the picture. Now, I personally love Doggy Style because physically it feels very different from Missionary or Cowgirl. As with spooning, in this position, you're more likely to be making contact with the G spot because it's located at the front of the vagina, a couple inches inside, so you're aiming down. Even if you have a shorter or just average length penis, you're more likely to be able to hit deep spots in this position. It just takes a little bit of angling and figuring out how your two bodies work together. Therefore, women who respond to deep pounding penetration often find this to be really enjoyable. You may also be able to hit her anterior fornix, which is located at the front of her body, kind of just a couple inches underneath her belly button. Plus, as a woman, all we really need to do is be able to hold ourselves up and put in a little resistance just to prevent your thrusting from causing us to get knocked over on our face. So again, it's physically not too taxing. Plus, as I've said before, this position gives her the most space to touch her clitoris or to get a vibrator down there. It's really beneficial for making sure that she does have an orgasm because again, women need our clitorises to be stimulated. Most of us are not able to orgasm just from penetration alone. And as a side benefit, if her hands are not gripping a vibrator, then she can be gripping the sheets. She could have a pillow underneath her and she could yell as loud as she wants, which can be really nice for people who like to make noise. Also, if she enjoys you being able to see the view, she feels proud of her butt and likes to show it off, then she can enjoy letting you see her in that angle. And of course, that allows you to grab and spank and slap her butt if she's into that. Mentally and emotionally though, Doggy Style can be quite a complicated thing for women. I mean, it's called Doggy Style. It's not already like the most romantic thing. And it's called that because this is the position that most animals, particularly mammals, mate in. It's animalistic, it's raw, it's less refined and sophisticated than Missionary, for example. At least that's how we tend to think of it. The thing that is sexy about it is also the thing that can kind of make it feel degrading. I mean, the thing about this style is that because it is animalistic in nature, we're sort of letting go of or losing our human and emotional contact with one another. You know, if you want to make eye contact, you have to like physically crane your head around. It could be a little uncomfortable. The term look back at it is fun and nice theoretically, but after a few minutes with your head cranked in that position, it can hurt. Not looking at each other can really be nice in the moment because you can close your eyes. Especially as a woman, you might just want to focus on the sensation and not be having to take in any visual information at that moment. But if a woman believes that in any way she's being used for sex, if she struggles with letting go of control or feeling submissive, or if she's one of the 30% of women who regularly experiences pain with sex, or she's just having sex for her partner, then she's way less likely to be able to let go and relax and enjoy this position for the raw experience that it can be. So if you want to experiment in this position with her, but she's feeling a little afraid, try engaging in a conversation about her reservations. Ask her what she needs from you in order to feel safe enough to give this a try and follow her requests exactly. Remember that she can stop at any time and never try to convince or coerce her into trying anything in bed that she's not comfortable with. With time, as you continue to demonstrate that you are a trustworthy partner who's subscribed to Caitlin V on YouTube and is safe to experiment with, then she will likely be more and more open to trying new things with you. All right, those are my thoughts and probably some of the most intimate things I have ever shared on the internet. So what I would love from you is to add your own thoughts and experiences into the comments. Women, what do you think? Did I nail everything? Did I miss some things? Guys, what have women told you as you were experimenting with these different positions? And let's make sure that we have a good conversation going down there. Also, while you're there, check out the description because I'm going to leave my links for all of my courses to help you to become the best, most amazing, most unforgettable lover who can last as long as she needs you to every single time. Because now you know everything that you need to know in order to read her mind and give her exactly what she needs in the moment that she needs it. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you here next week. Bye-bye.